Have you ever watched a chess grandmaster play and just wondered what is possibly going on inside their head? It looks like actual magic, right? A kind of thinking that just feels superhuman. But what if it isn't magic? What if it's something we can actually see and measure and even understand? Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, we look at a player like this completely lost in thought, and we throw around the word genius. But genius feels, I don't know, a little mystical. The truth is, that intense look is the result of a very real, very physical change happening inside the brain.
And that's really the heart of what we're going to talk about. Becoming an expert at something this complex isn't just about learning rules. It's about fundamentally rewiring your brain's hardware over tens of thousands of hours of practice.
So to get our heads around this, let's start with the most basic difference of all, perception. When a master looks at a chessboard, they are not seeing what the rest of us see. They're seeing a completely different reality.
This is the big question, isn't it? It's not just that they think more moves ahead. It's about that initial instantaneous gut feeling. In that first split second, what does the board even look like to them?
This right here shows you everything. On the left, that's the beginner's view. Just a mess of 32 individual pieces. But on the right, that's the master's view. They don't see the pieces, they see the relationships between them. They see threats, they see opportunities. The entire board just collapses into maybe 4 or 5 big, meaningful ideas.
Now, that difference in perception, it's not just a cool metaphor. It is a biological reality. And thanks to modern brain imaging, we can actually look inside the skull of an expert and see exactly how their brain has been physically changed by all that practice.
Okay, so this is where it gets really wild. See that first one? The fusiform face area, or FFA? That's the part of your brain that is hardwired to recognize human faces. But in a chess master, it gets hijacked. It's been retrained to recognize thousands of chess patterns with the same effortless speed you use to spot a friend in a crowd. It's just an amazing example of the brain repurposing its own tools.
Of course, seeing the patterns is one thing, knowing what to do with them is another. And experts show way stronger connections in their prefrontal cortex. Think of it as the brain's CEO. This is the network that handles the insane pressure of a tournament, keeps emotions in check, and makes those incredible long-term strategic calls when the clock is ticking down.
The brain also builds this specialized memory superhighway. Experts have stronger links in the parts of the brain that understand meaning. It's like chess positions have their own grammar, a language they can just read. They even show stronger connections in auditory memory, which means they can get better just by listening to a game being described.
So you might think an expert brain would be firing on all cylinders, lit up like a Christmas tree. But here's the twist. In many ways, an expert brain is actually working less.
This is what scientists call neural efficiency. A master's brain is like a perfectly tuned engine. It doesn't need to redline to get the job done. The wiring is so optimized that it uses less fuel to get better results. In fact, studies even show that experts have less gray matter in some key areas, which suggests their brains have literally pruned away the inefficient connections, leaving only the most important ones.
We can also see a big shift in how the two halves of the brain get used. A novice tends to slowly grind through a position using their left hemisphere, the logical, step-by-step part. But an expert, they often lean on the right hemisphere, which is way more intuitive and big picture. Or sometimes they'll engage both at once, getting the best of both worlds.
This is just fascinating. If you look at the brain's electrical signals, a grandmaster's brain fires these sharp, focused bursts in the neocortex. They're just pulling a file from a massive, well-organized library of old memories. But the amateur's brain? It's lighting up in the medial temporal lobe, which is busy trying to form new memories. They're still trying to figure the position out, while the master has seen it 1,000 times before.
So all of these brain changes, the face recognition area, the efficiency, the memory retrieval, they all serve one incredibly powerful cognitive strategy. And that strategy is called chunking.
So, what is chunking? Simply put, it's how the brain deals with really complex information. Instead of trying to remember the exact position of 10 different pieces, a master's brain sees it as one single thing, one chunk. Instead of a pawn here, a bishop there, they just see a classic kingside attack. It collapses tons of information into one single, easy-to-grab idea.
And here is the absolute killer proof for chunking. If you show a master a real game position, they can recreate it almost perfectly from memory. A novice? Well, they'll struggle. But, and this is the amazing part, if you take those same pieces and just dump them randomly on the board in a way that makes no chess sense,
the master's advantage completely disappears. They're no better than the novice. Why? Because there are no patterns to recognize, no chunks to pull from memory.
So this ability to chunk information basically becomes a superpower. It leads to lightning-fast decisions because you're not analyzing from scratch. You're just recognizing something you already know. Your memory for positions becomes massive, and your calculations are way more efficient because the chunks automatically guide you towards the moves that make sense.
All right, theory is one thing, but let's make this feel real. We're going to look at a simple chess endgame to see exactly how this chunking thing works when the rubber meets the road.
The endgame is the perfect place to see this because with fewer pieces on the board, those underlying patterns become crystal clear. That is, if you know what you're looking for.
Okay, here's the position. To a beginner, this is 3 separate objects: a white king, a white pawn, a black king. You'd have to start calculating, right? If I move my king here, then he moves his king there. It's this slow, painful step-by-step process.
But an expert doesn't even see the pieces. They see one single concept, the battle for the key squares. They know instantly that if their king can get to one of these 3 highlighted squares, the pawn promotes and the game is over. The entire position is just one chunk, one idea. The answer is immediate, and it barely requires any calculation at all.
And this idea just scales up to incredible complexity. Complicated defensive setups that have names like a fortress or the Vancouver defense. They aren't a series of moves to a master, they are a single concept. They see the pattern, they retrieve the chunk from their mental library, and they instantly know the result of the game.
So what does all of this tell us? Well, it tells us something really profound, not just about chess, but about how any of us can learn something and build real expertise.
The brain of a chess master is one of the most powerful examples of neuroplasticity we have. It proves that with thousands of hours of focused effort, we can physically sculpt our own minds. We can build entirely new ways of seeing and understanding the world. It's not a gift you're born with. It's an achievement you build.
And really, that's the final thought to leave you with. This process could be for learning a new language, mastering a musical instrument, becoming a top coder, whatever. The process is the same. It takes time, it takes focus, but the human brain has this almost limitless capacity to adapt and to learn. The only question is, what will you choose to build?